Hey there, I'm building a seven-figure a year real estate business and I'm doing it in public. And this is a daily update channel where I'm showing you my progress so that by extension, you can follow along and learn how to do this business yourself. See the ups, see the downs, see the challenges, and see the solutions we come up with to solve real problems in the real world doing real estate. And we start first by doing questions from our community. So what we'll do is we jump into the YouTube channel, which you're on now, and I answer live questions. I'll also answer questions from our Skool community. And then I'll go through some of the building and strategizing that I'm going and what I've done since the last time we've met. And then I'll update some stats across social media and let you know what kind of the offers that we've been making and kind of the deals that we've been working on. So let's start with some questions. So I checked in YouTube, there aren't any questions yet because this is a brand new series. So as you're watching this, go ahead and ask questions in the YouTube channel in the community. In any video you see, ask a question, and on a daily basis, I'll come through and answer questions. And so I do have some questions in the Skool community. So let's go check that out. So first question that popped up was some upfront costs. So this is a good question. Question for the group. I only have some experience from purchasing my own single family residence, which is very common. And so I know this will sound like a stupid question. So there aren't any stupid questions. There are only lazy questions. But I am curious what can be asked for by the buyer. So for instance, when purchasing a residence, can you ask that the seller pays some closing costs and does some concessions? And so for those with experience, what can I ask from the seller? And Anthony also asked, I know I will have to put out for like a property inspection and maybe an appraisal, which can be $1,000 or more, especially for commercial, it can be quite a bit more. I'm trying to start with this journey with practically no money. And so I'm trying to figure out how I can make things cheaper on my end. And so you can absolutely start this business with no money. Obviously, having access to cash makes pretty much everything easier. In this case, you're down and out. Like you don't have a lot of cash in your back pocket. That's totally fine. You can still be someone who finds deals. But what you want to do is you want to use a community like what we're in here and find a financial partner who's willing to do equity deals with you or willing to buy deals from you, and they'll help stake you for some of these expenses. And so they would get an exclusive right to the deal, and they may even take 90% of the deal. I say take, but they will earn 90% of the deal because they're taking all the risk and you're taking no risk. So you negotiate that with whatever situation you come up with. This is a legitimate way to get started because if you have no money, how are you going to even come up with an earnest money deposit? How are you going to, even do an inspection? You need somebody to come in with you to do it. So what you're doing is you're using your time and your energy and your cell phone. Like that's really all you need. You have some knowledge that you're going to learn here. You make some phone calls, you negotiate a good deal. And from there, you say, I have this financial partner that is going to come in with me and they're going to be your partner. They're going to buy the deal or JV with you on the transaction. Super normal. You got to do it the right way, but it's a completely legitimate way to do this business. And that's a way to get started. Now, as far as what some of the costs are, what can you ask for? This is a reasonable question. I know why you're asking, but that's not the right kind of question because you're trying to pull the wrong lever. Go find an amazing deal and basically let them don't negotiate on like seller concessions. You want to negotiate on a huge discount or seller financing. And that is the value that you're going to then bring to the marketplace to your financial partner. And then they will come in and cover the cost necessary for an amazing deal. That's how you're going to make money in this business. Great question. Okay, so we like that one. Here it is. Okay, so wanting to make an offer, and so being new to the commercial investing, here's kind of a newbie question for me. Do we generate the LOI, which stands for letter of intent, within the deal finder tool? And is there another tool I need to use to generate it manually? Any information will be appreciated. So what he's talking about is some of the software that we make available inside of our paid community. And one of those is called the Commercial Deal Finder tool. And that tool is a data tool to help find off-market deals. And that's not what you use to make offers. We have a customized tool called Triple Play Pro that will help make you 3 offers. And so that's what I directed him to so that he could generate his LOI using this tool. And we have training on how to do that inside of our community for people who are members of that paid community. Okay. So, in principle, whether or not you have fancy tools or not, the concept is you talk to somebody, you get some information about the revenue and expenses of a property. You do a financial analysis so that you can figure out what the NOI is, the net operating income, and you use that to make an offer. And we make offers in one of three ways. One way is a significant cash offer discount. So we'll cash out the seller, they get all the money up front, but that's at a significant discount. Or two, we can assume financing if they have favorable terms. If there's a loan in place and it has really good interest rate or a payment plan, then we might be able to assume that, provided it gives us the return that we want. And then the third and favorite way of doing deals is doing seller financing. Owner financing, seller will carry, a lot of different ways to describe this. It's the same concept, is basically I will make you a small down payment, and then I'll make you monthly payments over time. At a certain point, that will balloon out, and then I'll pay you out the balance. And we make a lot of offers like this because it allows us to give the seller their price, but we make payments that make sense for us, so there's cash flow in the business. Anything that we buy, real estate business, we want to get into it that it cash flows day one. We don't want to buy an alligator. We want to really avoid that. So that is questions answered. So now let's talk about some of these deals that I've been looking at here. So I am working on updating my investor website. So for credibility, I've been kind of putting this off for a while. So I have updated our name servers on Friday. And as of today, the developer confirmed that worked, and he is working on development of that now. So he said he'd have that ready in a week's time. So that would be amazing if we were able to get that taken care of this week. It'd be amazing. And then now we're working on an RV park. And so I've been looking for capital partners to work with me on this. And in this case, we have the property under contract, and we're going to close on it pretty much in any way whatsoever. But we're not really RV park people. And so we want someone to work with who knows RV parks better than us. And so what we're trying to do is raise capital. And anytime we have a deal, we're using that deal to help find new capital partners, whether it's for this deal or for any future deals. Because people who have cash that want to invest in real estate, they don't want a bunch of looky-loos saying, oh, I promise one day I will find a deal. What you really want to do is you want to basically say, hey, I have this specific deal and I have it under contract. Here are the terms. Would you be interested in hearing more about it? And then they can figure out if they would want to buy it from you or if they want to JV or partner with you in some way. Okay. And so that's what we're doing, is we're reaching out to people who are specialists in RV parks and like to own RV parks. And so we're going to partner with them on this deal so that we're not having to run the day-to-day operations of an RV, because that's not what my strength is, and nor something I really want to become my strength. I'd much rather have property managers in place to manage my properties. So I actually had somebody texting me back and forth, and it's a very interesting dynamic. We were having trouble getting a hold of each other, and we were basically playing phone tag. And at one point she said, are you really trying to sell this? Are you trying to daisy chain this? And I told her, I was like, well, I want to make sure you're not daisy chaining this. And what is daisy chain? And so we do not like daisy chaining. And what it is somebody gets a property under contract, and then their intention is to wholesale it. And then they go and find to the marketplace, they try and find a buyer. And so somebody out there says, oh, well, I know somebody who might want to buy it. And then they do a JV with you to help bring a buyer to it. And then that just goes down the line. So you end up having 2, 3, 4, 5 people who have no money who are trying to make a deal happen, and they're all getting like little slices of the pie. And every time that happens, it creates a game of phone tag. You know, the old telephone game you play with a kid when you're in school, and it demonstrated how everything breaks down as the more people you have in the middle. That's exactly what happens in the daisy chain scenario. And I want to go direct to the person who wants to be the capital partner with us, because we can buy it. We want to be able to buy it to run this property, but we are not operators. And so, especially for RV parks. And so we want to partner with somebody who is an actual RV park operator. And so they can help us do the due diligence, and they can help go and do a site survey, and they know more about this asset class than we do. And they have capital they want to deploy to get a return, and we want to create a JV scenario for that. That's the person I want to talk to. I don't want to talk to 5 people in the middle who don't actually provide any value. And that's what a daisy chain is. And so anytime I'm reaching out to a capital partner, I am trying to make sure that they're not just trying to daisy chain. Like, are you able to contribute to this financially? And if you cannot, nice to know you, but like you're not helping here. And so that's what I'm really after. And so, uh, in this situation, she thought I was maybe trying to daisy chain. I was making sure she wasn't daisy chaining. And we actually finally got on the call this morning, and we worked out that she was, in fact, an interested party who has capital to deploy. And we're going to discuss later this afternoon if she wants to be a part of it. Okay, so next we're going to jump over to working an 8-unit deal in Louisiana, and we have an LOI signed, and we did find a couple other parties that were interested, but they were a little shy on the down payment. And this is a situation where I need someone to be able to show up with $250K down, and this person only had $200K, which is still a lot of money, but they didn't qualify. And so I said, no problem. 250 is out of your range, and this is like plus closing cost, right? So they need to have let's just call it 275, 260, 275 to be able to close on this. And he only had 200. 200 isn't going, it's too much of a stretch, and we need to close within 30 days. And so this person is not a good capital partner for me on this deal. It's no shame that he doesn't have access to 250K. We can still make deals happen at 200K. We just need to find a different deal for him. So when we find a deal that makes sense, we'll reach back out to him and say, hey, I remember you were interested before. You said you accessed 200K. And so what I've done is I've pre-qualified this guy. So he's been pre-qualified, and now I know what it is that he wants. And I know what he can perform on. And so I don't need to waste his time with something that needs, greater than anything greater than this, 200K. He does, it's just not a go for him. It just doesn't make sense. Okay. And so that's how you build a buyer's list. People ask me all the time, how you build a buyer's list? Well, you get deals under contract, and you go to communities, and you actually find people who are interested, and then you interview them, and you make sure they're not daisy chaining. And then you go and talk to people who say, well, okay, I can't make this 250 work. I could make 200 work. No problem. Now I've qualified you for the next deal. And that's how you build a buyer's list, because somebody will show up and says 250 makes sense. Like 250 is because this is a good deal. It's an owner financing deal. It's a principal only, like the payment's only $700 a month. It's an amazing 8-unit deal if you have 250K plus to work with. All right. So moving on, we have another RV park under contract, and we're finding a lot of opportunities with RV parks, but they want a proof of funds. And this particular seller is pretty savvy, and they are very particular about the proof of funds. So if you've not heard of this before, a proof of funds is a letter from a financial institution or somebody who has cash that says, I have available cash, liquid capital, to fund this 250K. So in this case, if this person said, I have 250K, I would ask for a proof of funds. Hey, can you show me a letter or from your bank or from a screenshot saying that you have liquid capital that you can deploy on this property in the next 30 days? This helps me feel confident that you have the capacity to close, because I don't want to tie up a property and then not be able to close. That is never my interest or my intent. I want to find a situation where I can close on a deal that I have under contract. If it's a good deal, I want to close. And so I want a capital partner who can prove to me that they have the cash that I need in order to make that deal happen. And then we'll work out our JV agreement that makes sense. Okay, so in this situation, this seller was pretty savvy and was pushing back really hard on the proof of funds letter that we gave them. And I'm not even sure why they would push back so hard, but I'm meeting with them later today to figure out the details of what they really are expecting and if we can meet their criteria or if they're just being unreasonable. We've told them pretty clearly what's going on and that we are bringing capital partners in and we can provide proof of funds, but we need the property under contract. They won't let us put the property under contract until we can show them that we have, I can't even remember how much, 500K of liquid capital, like sitting in a bank account just waiting. And so people don't have money just sitting idly by in cash accounts or in savings accounts on the off chance that you want to sell your property. Like people keep their money moving and deployed. And when I look to put the property under contract, I tell them the money's not coming from me. The money is coming from a capital partner that I haven't talked to yet. Like I know them, but I haven't qualified them for this particular deal yet because I don't have a deal with you yet. Once I have a deal, I will have during my due diligence, I will raise the capital from my existing network. And I have a lot of people interested like this who have capital that will be interested to invest, but I'm not going to take up their time on a deal I don't have under contract because the first thing they're going to say is, "Do you have it under contract?" I'm going to say no. It puts me in a bind. So I'm kind of like in this middle ground. That's what's happening there. I'll update you what's happening with that soon. So the last thing here is I am consolidating my single family portfolio in Arkansas where I live. This is how I cut my teeth, is buying single family. And I decided to scale up higher into bigger properties, 8 units and RV parks and et cetera. And so now as tenants are leaving, I am fixing up the property and selling my single family portfolio. And so I have a property scheduled to sell and it's supposed to close this coming Friday. The only thing left is for me to review the title report. And so it's kind of one of my to-dos today is I need to look at the title commitment. And when I make sure the title commitment is clean, then we will be able to close. And so basically this is me making sure that I have the right to sell the property. So I'm just waiting on that. And also I have another single family property that the rehab is scheduled to complete tomorrow. And I just got a call from my agent who is going to look at the property today. And so what I do is when the contractor is finished, he has his cleaners go through and clean it. And he says he's done. He says, all I got to do is install a range in the kitchen on Tuesday. Go ahead and send your agent over there and take a look at it. So my agent goes over there with a roll of blue tape, of blue painter's tape. And she walks around and she marks things with blue painter's tape that says, I don't like this. I think this should be better. This is something the sellers or the buyers are going to call out. And she blue tapes some stuff. And then I have my contractor go back through and look at the blue tape comments from my agent and say, okay, that's something I can fix. That's something I can fix, et cetera. And he gives me a new quote for what those things are. Or if that's something he should have done correctly in the first place, that's how we work that back and forth. And mind you, I'm not going to this. My agent is going to this for me because I'm building a business that's scaling to 7 and 8 figures. And I'm not going around and looking at individual units with blue tape. That's not my role. That is somebody I trust who's very good at it doing it for me. And so that is something that's happening right now as I speak. They're over there blue taping the properties. And I do this on single families and multifamilies. Anytime I'm getting rehabs done, I have a third party come in behind the contractor and blue tape it for me. And the intention is they're going to find something wrong. Like they're looking for just sloppy work. And, this is not good paint job. This trim needs to be tightened up here. Just whatever little tiny details need to be taken care of so that someone has a fresh look and says, this is ready to go for either a renter or to sell in this case. All right. And so let's run across some stats. So let's go over here, find the stats. We'll just do an update. Okay, we're doing an update on the brand stats. And so this is August 11th. And we checked the long form. This is, I believe, 302. Hey, we got some new subs. So we went up by a couple of subs. I think this one is still the same, 1,060. And let's see, Instagram. I haven't checked Instagram. 1422 was last time. 1424. Hey, we're moving on up. Hey, 1424. And the Skool community, let's check that out. Members, we're at 3143. So 3143. A little bit of growth there too. We have 4 more people that joined over the weekend. Okay, so that's basically the media stuff that I do in order to grow a community of people that helps me build the business. Why am I building this stuff? Why am I growing a long form YouTube channel? Why am I growing a daily Coffee with Paul channel? Why am I doing Instagram at Skool? What I'm doing is I'm attracting people to my ecosystem. And in that ecosystem are people who could potentially be new investors or new capital partners. And I'm a connector and I want to bring capital partners. I want to bring money together and I want to be able to find deals. I want to be able to show people how to find deals. And when transactions happen, good things tend to happen for me and my community. Because even if I'm not financially involved in the transaction, if that happened through my community, that's a proof of concept. That's a testimonial for the theory of what I'm doing. Like this is not just a concept. This is not just an investment thesis. This is investments that are actually happening in a marketplace, which goes so much further in your credibility when you're like, these are actual deals that I was a part of, or I facilitated or made possible because they were part of this community. And that's why you show your work. So if you haven't already joined any of these communities, go ahead and jump in. If you want to get actual deals done, this is how you're going to see the real life world of real estate happen and how deals are done, kind of see behind the scenes and not all the hype and the hoopla. Thanks for joining.